What's up, everyone? Welcome to Dogs Down South. I'm your host, Ted Turner. We are live tonight on Dogs Down South. Thank you so much for tuning in. If you're on YouTube tonight on Dogs Down South, thank you for tuning in, as well as if you're on Facebook tonight at Dogs Down South. Also, really exciting news. We went live on TikTok. We actually have a Dogs Down South TikTok account now that started January 1, and we were able to accrue 1,000 users in less than a month. So that is the next platform we will be live on. So super grateful for all of the support on Dogs Down South on TikTok. That's been a really interesting platform to be a part. But thanks for joining tonight. We're going to hop right in. If I could introduce some really cool people that are always joining me. That's awesome to have. We got Mr. Bobby Ryals. What's up, Bobby? How are you tonight, man?
I'm good, brother. How are you?
Doing good, man. Happy to have you again. Fish, how are you, buddy?
Good, man. Good.
So Wednesday night, just try to watch the dogs, man. We had Alabama, man. We had them in basketball. Blew a lead. It's tough, but Mike White, man, I like what's going on in basketball.
Oh,
yeah. We're getting there, man. We're looking like we know how to play basketball at Georgia now. We're not just 100% a football and a sometimes baseball. And I'm sure between equestrian and everything else we've done really well in swimming and diving and
tennis,
things of that
golf.
nature, we're getting there, man. We're getting to be
Gym
more of just gym dogs, man. I have not yet. I want to go, man. I've heard we sell out some gym dog competitions, man. So that'd be really cool to go to if I live closer, but that's cool, man. Hey, we're going to jump right in tonight, and I thought it would be cool to talk about way too early top 12. Obviously, we are in late January. It's crazy to know it's late January. Actually, it's supposed to be early February tomorrow. So
yes, sir.
we are into Super Bowl right around the corner. Taylor and the Chiefs. That's a group name,
my
bro. That'll be her.
God.
Taylor and the Chiefs, bro. Let's real quick. Who you guys got? You got Taylor and the Chiefs,
Give me
or
the
do you
Chiefs.
got what's that? Or the 49ers? Who you got, Fish?
Give me Tay and the Chiefies.
Tay and the Chiefs. What about you, Bobby? Who you got, man? Early Super Bowl pick.
Just because I'm over the whole Chiefs thing, man. Like I'd love to see the Niners win.
The Niners. I like it, man. They almost blew it against Detroit, man.
Detroit,
They tried.
Yeah.
They finally found out. I love Mr. Brock Purdy, man. I like those long shot stories, man.
Look at him showing off the legs.
Man. What's that?
He was scrambling. His scrambling pretty much won the game for them. He got a couple of big first downs. Like he's running
always
around.
Been feisty, man. He's always been a feisty guy, man. And he at the end, he gave it all up to Jesus Christ and how he plays for him, plays for Jesus. And he said, "Hey, man, that's what I lean on when it comes to tough times. When I'm down 17 points, that's what it's all about to me." And I love his testimony. I love his grit. He had to really work his way to everything he got. He wasn't just given an NIL deal off the. No, I'm not going to go into NIL tonight, but I want to. But yeah, man. So I like I like the Chiefs not because of Tay and them, man. But if you give me Mahomes and Kelsey, I just don't know, man.
I actually wanted the Ravens. I was hoping the Ravens would pull it out.
Yeah,
but
yeah,
that was my team. Yeah, so I guess I got to go with my homie.
Yeah, man. Of course. All right, so we got our early picks in. Also, for everybody joining, if you do not get a chance to join and want to let everybody know, this usually within 24 hours goes live on Apple Podcasts. So episode 3 will be up tomorrow about this time. We're going to hop right in way too early, top 12. And, man, before we came on tonight, we were fighting through, man, this conference realignment. We're just like, who's in what conference? Where are they going? How's the playoff aligned? What are we doing? It's going to be interesting. It's going to be crazy. I got a feeling that half the college football fans out there are not going to really know what's going on until the season starts. But we're getting into February.
Look.
What's that?
Completely different look.
Dude,
it's
so different that I don't even know what it looks like yet.
I
know. So we're early February. Crazily enough, Super Bowl's around the corner, but we're like a month and a half from putting the pads on, right, for spring football. I mean, mid-March, weight rooms happening. So we got our way too early top 12. So let's talk real quick. We're gonna. This is my way too early top 12. I dropped on TikTok last night, so you guys can chime in and we can talk a little bit about it. But at 12, I got. This is not reflecting the playoff. This is just what I think will be ranked at top 12. We're gonna fly through this a little bit because we're gonna hit some questions and talk about playoffs. But at 12, I got the Penn State Nittany Lions. I like what obviously James Franklin. He gives that SEC swag. I like Drew Alar coming back, Nick Singleton in the backfield, Dayton Allen. Penn State is always like they're just always right there, man. They're just trying.
What Georgia used to be.
Yeah, exactly. It's just trying to beat Michigan, trying to beat Ohio State. I think I like them safely here. I don't think they make the 12-team playoff, but I think they are the 12th best team coming into the season on paper. Disagree? Anything? What do you guys like or dislike about Penn State?
I think that's a solid pick.
Yeah, I think Penn State will be solid. I'm kind of jotting down what you've got here just to see if I would move anybody up or down once we kind of go through there. But I think Penn State will be good, right? But they're going to get, like a lot of other teams, they'll get swallowed up by being in a decent conference.
Mm-hmm. I agree. And here's the thing. It'll be cool. You're right. Let's go back because there are some teams that I would say we could talk about that are on that bubble. I think you guys were shocked that I don't have some teams actually in this top 12. 11, I got we talked about this, and it's a question we don't really know the answer to right now because I've seen reports say that they're going with this new realignment going into the ACC, but they play ACC basketball. But I have at 11, I have the Notre Dame Fighting Irish, and I just get the feel in South Bend that this might be is this the year for Freeman to get it going, or is he going to start hearing a little bit of buzz? Right, 10-3 last year. Maybe the saving grace this year. Obviously, they got the big pickup of Riley Leonard out of Duke. You can put some talent around him. What do you guys think about Notre Dame? Fish, what do you think about Notre Dame at 11?
I might actually move them up a few spots.
Yeah,
top 8. I would think top 8.
Top 8.
They keep going up. They're trending up every year, every season. They get a little bit better. And how many 2-loss teams are going to be sitting there at the the back 4 of the top 12 at the end of the year?
Yeah.
I don't think there's going to be that many 1-loss teams running around.
Yeah, I agree. Bobby, you like Notre Dame? You like them at 11? We can go back and look
about where I'm putting them yet. I will say this: I agree that this is probably the year that they get over that hump, right? One of the biggest issues with Notre Dame since Freeman's been there this past couple of years, he's a great coach. What Notre Dame has really been missing has been an elite arm. I think when you bring Riley Leonard in there, you've got a quarterback who has some experience, right? Really good fundamental mechanics. And so I think Riley Leonard could come in there and shake things up. He could be that guy.
Yeah, I agree. Have you guys, I think you hit this, but I just haven't heard of a quarterback that I've just liked the outlook of what it could bring to Notre Dame until this guy.
Yeah. Right.
Notre Dame's always had that guy. When you look at Notre Dame and you go back to quarterbacks, who do you guys think about? I'll give you mine. It has to go way back for me.
Joe Montana.
Doug Flutie, bro. Doug Flutie for me. It's the last name said Notre Dame.
He was at Boston College, right?
Oh, there you go. See, who is he? I don't even have Notre Dame quarterback that I go back to.
Yeah.
Same helmet, right? We're human here. That's hilarious.
Yeah. I mean, there's.
Was a guy named Kaiser or something? He was athletic, right? What was his first
I don't
name?
even know who you
Kaiser
would pick. What was the?
Who is he though?
Brady O'Quinn, was that the kid that was there?
Yeah, Brady Quinn.
He's a better announcer though, right? Better announcer than he ever was a quarterback.
He wasn't I mean, he was probably the most hyped up Notre Dame quarterback recently, I would think. And that probably hasn't been recent, right? As we get older, it's hard to to define recent anymore.
I mean,
I know. I can only give out so much attention.
Yeah. I might have missed the whole Doug Flutie thing, but bro, the quarterback last year he's actually going to play lacrosse this year. Who was it? What was his name, man? All I heard was a story. I don't know. He's playing. He's going for a lacrosse scholarship this year, man. So let's just say that Riley Leonard is a hot take. He showed he can play in a beat up conference with Duke. Elko did a great job at Duke. I still say, a lot of things you saw were more based off of a coach coming in and making a team more complete. It was hard to gauge who they really were in the context of the conference they played in. But I like Notre Dame at 11. Number 10, this could be a toss-up. The question in the chat right here we're going NFL here. I'll answer NFL questions. For the Ravens, do you think OBJ is still a good wide receiver?
Nope.
I'll give you a 30-second sidebar. I think OBJ is washed up, bro.
No, he's washed up.
I think
Can't
he's
believe
old.
Baltimore signed him.
Yeah, I like him.
I guess
though,
they
man.
just needed a name, hopes and prayers that he was actually going to show up and do something. But no, he's washed up. He doesn't block. He's not fast. I mean, he's not making those catches. He's doesn't want to go over the middle and get hurt. Plus, he's fragile. The man's made of paper.
Yeah. What you got, Bobby? Sidebar, a little OBJ talk right here.
When I think of him, I think about his dad recently. I think was on Twitter talking smack, saying if OBJ had a better quarterback, they'd be.
Yeah. Somebody better than the MVP. Yeah, he needs somebody.
Yeah. I think he was talking about if he had Baker Mayfield or something. I'm like,
didn't he have
way better?
Like,
would you guys agree that Matt Stafford's the best arm in the NFL? I think Matt Stafford has the best arm in the NFL. And by the way,
that man can sling it still.
Yeah, that's the arm you had throwing at you not too long ago. So I don't know.
Yeah,
that's just what I'll say about that. So let's move on. Number 10, I got the Utah Utes. Let me tell you why, man.
Cam Rising,
man. He's just kind of like a
if he can stay healthy
type guy, dude. If he goes and cannot Whittingham, can he not do a lot with a little man? I mean, Utah ain't got no NIL money, man. They just in the mountains. They got a beautiful view. They got a stadium that's, it's loud. It's a pretty view. It's Utah, though, man. Ain't nobody just going, I want to go to Utah. But he seems to produce. Exactly. Ski scholarships. But, once they get a name for themselves, I mean, I forget the guy's name because I'm not covering them a lot last year. But, I mean, they get players that break out, and then they sign NIL deals, and they leave Utah. So Cam Rising has been a name that stayed. And so, Bobby, what do you think about Utah here? I have him at 10.
Man, I don't really know. I could have them at 10, or I could have them not even in the top 20. Mm-hmm. It really depends on how Rising comes back from injury.
Yeah.
Right. And he had a pretty phenomenal tight end that was there when he was not last year, but the year before. When I think he played last year. I don't know what year that guy is or if he's even gone. So I don't know what he has to throw to. And I unfortunately feel like NIL is going to really, over a period of time, you're going to see it really start to take a toll on those types of schools.
Yeah, tearing them up, man.
I think it's going to eat them up, And so I don't know, man. I probably don't have Utah in a top 10.
Fair enough. What do you think, Fish? You got them out of here, or you got them in there somewhere?
I don't know. Them in Washington was a toss-up for my bottom two. One of them is going to be 12. I don't know. Utah's always right there. They're always a sleeper. They always could be really good, or man, if Cam Rising was healthy last year, what would they have looked like at the end of the season? So they lost a few games because of some inexperience behind the center.
I agree with that, but then that guy signs a really big NIL deal, so that's crazy. I agree with that. I agree with there's some bubble teams in there that could make or break Utah being in there, but once again, you got to look at with this top 12, you look at who they're playing. And so that's what you got to go look. You got to look at who they're playing. So 9, this is a toss-up pick. I mean, I had some disgruntled TikTok people last night on some of these things. We'll talk about a question about one of the main things they were disgruntled about. But I got Arizona Wildcats at 9. Number 1, Jed Fish leaves, goes to Washington. But dude, Noah Fafita, quarterback for Arizona. This kid is real, man. He's for real. Tedero McMillan is a wide receiver you're going to hear a lot about this year because He's got height. He's got length. He's got NFL type caliber. That team completely stayed together. Nobody, can you believe? I mean, I thought Fafita would go because it's like, you uproot, NIL's chasing. He should have possibly, maybe, I don't know. But he wants to, I like them there because he wants to see what Arizona can do as a team. It reminds me of a little bit about, I want to build something. I want to start something at Arizona. You guys have Arizona anywhere in there? Is that a wild pick for you guys?
Who got the head coach job there?
The head coaching job there was filled by, I don't know. It's a good question. That's a great put me on the spot. I'll look it up though. If anybody wants to chime in, who you guys got it? I mean, do you like Arizona there? You know much about Arizona?
No, I do.
I just remember Arizona playing tough
strong
games late night.
I think that conference comes down to probably Arizona or Oklahoma State.
Yep.
UCF being kind of a dark horse, maybe. I don't know. I don't know. I really, when I think of Arizona, I think of, it's hard for me to really think of them as being a top 10 team just because historically, but they do bring back some significant talent. So, man, I don't know.
I think that's a good spot for them. I think that's good for them.
So I got, the name I'm seeing is Brent Brennan. Replaced Jed Fish. I don't know where Brent Brennan's from.
Yeah,
I don't recognize the name.
That'll be my next question.
Sounds like a stab to me. But I will tell you that if they kept Fafita and McMillan in check, there could have been a little bit of. I mean, Arizona, they do have money. It's a prominent school, obviously, in Arizona. They got NIL, they had a collective there. They do well in a lot of sports. They do well in basketball, things of that nature. So they might have had enough money to intrigue them to stay around and build something there. But we'll see. That is my kind of coin flip spot there. I like them there because I agree, Bobby. That's why I got them there. I like that. I like them and Oklahoma State in that conference, but I don't know. I don't. Van Gundy to me, I don't see. Never see Van Gundy winning the big game, man.
They always fall off at the end of the year, man. It's like they start off strong and they hit a streak and then they hit a skid, So
yeah, they win a couple games they're not supposed to, towards the beginning of the season, and then at the end of the season, Bedlam just they drop the ball, literally.
Physically drop the ball. All right, here's 8. We get into the heart of this now. 8, I got the Missouri Tigers. I like what Eli Drinkowitz is doing in Missouri. He's stabbing that portal to death. I will tell you that's what I think has to start meshing together to get them to be a complete SEC team is going into the portal and keeping those players home. And I think they've done that this year. I think keeping Luther Burden home, Brady Cook coming back, tying that together with some big additions, Marcus Carroll, Caden Green, Corey Flagg, Chris McMillan, a couple of these guys coming out of the ACC, Clemson. The big name in there is Darius Smith coming out of Tulane. He was the defensive lineman that Georgia was really wanting, and he went to Missouri. But Missouri late lost some portal stuff that they thought they had. But Missouri always does well in the portal. I don't know where they're finding this NIL money in Missouri. You guys ever been to, maybe it's Branson where they saw the show. Maybe
the
Branson.
Show Me State.
The Show Me State. There you go. I guess they're showing some money out there. What do you guys think? Fish, what do you think about Missouri first?
Scary.
You like them there?
We got to go on the road and play them next year. Scary. I think top 8's good for them.
I hate Missouri.
That's a good spot. I do too.
They always play so weird. I took the Missouri game in at Sanford Stadium this year, and it was a lot more offensive based than it's ever been in previous years. We go to Missouri, and I just feel like it's just a task, man. It's like a grind, and it's hard to play there. I feel like we're playing in the middle of a field. I mean, I know we're playing in the middle of a field, but it feels like we're playing in the middle of nowhere.
Stadium. Yeah, it's like a high school stadium
with the big M on the corner. What do you think? What do you think about Missouri here, Bobby?
Well, man, it's going to depend on this conference realignment. So you don't have East and West anymore, right? So, one of the things that likely stood in their way last year was having Georgia ahead of them, right? And that's still going to probably be the case, whether it's East West. Do you put more guys in front of them, right? What's Alabama going to look like, right? What's Ole Miss going to look like? So putting them at 8 when – and you're just talking about rankings, but I don't think they would be 8 in the 12-team playoff.
I agree.
Because you've got your first 6 are going to be your conference, right? So that would mean that they'd had the best record or like chosen to be essentially the number 2 team just outside of that 6.
And missing that conference championship can do them some good too. That doesn't always hurt teams now, especially now with 12 teams.
Yeah. But Drinkowitz, man, dude he's different, right? He's different.
He's funny.
They had some serious momentum going their way. They had some great things for their program. I think they set themselves up to be even better moving forward just because they did have so much success and it was unexpected.
Yeah.
Right. And now they're going to get those recruits, right?
Yeah.
Can they keep up in the NIL market? That's going to be the question. But I like Mizzou. I mean, I really do. I think Mizzou is a very good team. I don't know where they're going to be now that they lost Schrader out of the backfield. Because that dude was a workhorse, but Brady Cook is coming back. He's got Luther Burden, so there's going to be plenty of offense to be had there.
Yeah,
and
they're going to
always bring a good defense. Bring a good defense. So Mizzou at 8 is not a stretch, I don't think.
No.
Right. They always have some. I mean, if it's not Schrader, though, I feel like they always have some back there that's just a game changer. Really, like a shifty back.
Yeah,
I can't remember from the past, but I just feel like we always get we get gapped by a Missouri in the run game by somebody I've never heard of before every year. So expect them to have somebody back there with a Schrader type vibe that could be the new Schrader of old. I just feel like
Schrader gapped everybody this year. Like it wasn't just us. Like that dude was a stud.
But he changed a lot in 2 seasons. I remember the year before that, he was kind of that, that third down kind of scat back. This year they just gave that man the ball off tackle and said, go. And he just was hitting people. He was hitting people, man, just running through people. He was a different back this year.
Like preferred walk on, right? Like the only reason Schrader even wound up there is because of a booster that saw him and was like, hey, I want you to give this guy a shot. And then he gets in there and wins the spot.
Yeah.
Pretty impressive.
I agree. Definitely. 7. I got the Ole Miss Rebels at 7. 11-2 last year, 6-2 in the SEC. They are the national champions of the portal. I got them number 1 in my portal heart because they just cleaned the portal out, my friend. I mean, Walter Nolan, Texas A&M. I'm going to botch this, but Princely, Umani Millian, Antoine Wells Jr. from South Carolina, Tyler Barron, Key Lawrence, Chris Paul Jr., Tavian Nicholson, Lewis Moore, Deion Smith. You don't know them yet, but those are all breakout players from their previous universities that they were at. Specifically, Walter Nolan at Texas A&M, who's probably a top 5-10 pick next year, depending on how this goes. And then from Florida, Princely, Umani Millian. I don't know how to say that name, but dude, he's incredible defensive end, Clowney type, Jadeveon Clowney type stature. Really, really great player. They won the portal though. I mean, they lost Quinshawn Junkins, but I mean, at the end of the day, man, I don't know who the halfback was last year, but they kind of went back and forth. There was another back that was built kind of like, I mean, you can't replace the Quinshawn Junkins, but there was another guy that shared some with him last year that was good too, as well. But you add Jackson Dart coming back. I like what I like what Lane's brewing over in Hotty Toddyville. Bobby, what do you think about Ole Miss?
Yeah, so man, I could not mention Ole Miss without giving a shout out to my hometown boy Chris Paul. Back home, we call him Pooh. He's a Crisp County Cougar.
Chris Paul Jr.
Yeah, and so he was at at Arkansas, right? And One of the reasons he left Arkansas was he did not see the work ethic being put in, and that was what really caused him to hit the portal. And Nick Saban had called him up. I know that for a fact, right? So he had his choice, right? And so he's at Ole Miss. We've got another AJ Brown, another kid from Cornell, over there too, dude. Ole Miss is going to put it together. Their defense is going to be legit.
Will it be finally?
Yeah, it will be.
I'm joking, but
I say this. I don't know about the corners. But I know up the middle, like they're going to be strong. They will be strong, right? Again, my guy Pooh Paul, I mean, led Arkansas in tackles, and he finds the ball. He finds his way to the ball. He's a hard-nosed player that gets in there and crushes them. He's a product of Shelton Felton.
Shelton
went in there and created the defense down South Georgia, and he's at Valdosta now. But he's the guy that Quay Walker is a product of there. So all these guys, my alma mater, man. So I had to give a shout out to them. But I do believe Ole Miss finally starts to play at least enough defense to where their offense matters now. All right.
Yeah. What do you think, Fish? What you got, man? You like Ole Miss here?
Yeah, I got them as my highest ranked non-conference champion.
Okay. So you got them. So technically, you got them. You think they're coming? You think they're playing? But we won't name any names above. But you think they're playing for the SEC championship next year?
I do.
Wow.
I think it's us against them for a rematch because we're going to beat them in the regular season, and then we'll see them again in the championship.
Yeah,
it's incredible. Does Alabama? I didn't see this. I don't think Alabama plays Ole Miss this year. Hold on.
That's dodging a bullet.
I was ready for this, man. I was ready for this question right here. And then I lost it because we were talking about playoff. I got you right here. I would say that is definitely dodging a bullet. And I would say that's not a bad pick either. It's just all about how the SEC is just going to be brutal, man.
Yeah,
it's going to be fun to watch.
Yes,
hopefully.
Alabama and Ole Miss, they don't meet next year. So very interesting how that works out.
Kalen DeBoer.
Yeah, man.
Very interesting. His Keanu Reeves on.
So I know we're going to get there, but I'm assuming you have Texas higher than 7.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I do. I got them up here. You guys are going to probably dive in on this one. I had some. There's been a lot of choppiness about this one, but at 6, I got the reigning national champions, Michigan Wolverines. They're losing a lot, including Mr. Harbaugh. But I like what comes back on the defense. I know they're losing their D coordinator. Sharon Moore is going to have the offense intact. I think this kid, Jaden Davis, there's some people that are already in house, but this Jaden Davis kid coming in for Michigan I've heard he's for real, man. He'll be good. He'll add another a little bit of more of an aspect. I was hoping that Michigan would keep some things intact, and they have. I haven't seen a lot of portal disaster with them right now, but they are losing a ton just to the NFL and to graduation. So I don't know if you guys have Michigan close to here, or what do you? Fish will give you the first jab. What you got? You got Michigan anywhere close here?
Yeah, I think Ryan Day finally gets over the hump this year, beats Michigan, wins the Big 18 or whatever it is. I think that's a good spot. Maybe a couple spots back, but they definitely finished top 12. I think
they lose JJ McCarthy, obviously, and that hurt because I think if Harbaugh stays, McCarthy stays, but he left. Yeah. McCarthy jumped ship. Bobby, what you got? You got him here or lower or higher?
I'm probably gonna have him lower, just because I think just what Fish said. Like I think this is Ryan Day. There's some urgency. Like you better beat Michigan this year. Right, you better beat Michigan with Harbaugh gone and
all that money they spent.
All that money you just forked out in the portal. There's no excuse. There's no excuse, right?
They bought him a movie ticket, bro.
So I have Ohio State probably winning that conference, which would put them at somewhere in the top 6. I do not see Michigan being ranked as one of the first 2 teams out of there. So I'm probably going to have them somewhere around 9 or 10, probably.
Yeah. It's just hard. I mean, it's going to be hard for a lot of affiliates. And I tried to base the way too early off of like, what are sites going to say? What are the ESPNs, the CBS Sports, everything? What Fox Sports? What are they going to say that they're going to have a hard time keeping the reigning national champion 15-0 out of that top 10? I think.
Yeah.
I think you settle them in at 6. It's not going to end like this, but I definitely think they're a top 12 team. But here's where we get into the nitty gritty. I'm sure some fans are going to hate where I have this team, but this is where I got them, man. Because when you look at what's ahead of them, this is where I got them, man. At 5, I got the Alabama Crimson Tide. 12-2, 8-0. Returning players, obviously Jalen Milroe. The defense they were able to keep intact. The 2 names are Deontay Lawson and Malachi Moore, which are key players over there. Obviously lost a ton. Dallas Turner to NFL, J.C. Latham, Kool-Aid McInnes, Terrion Arnold, Braswell. I mean, you name it, Jermaine Burton. I don't count that. Will Reichert. I mean, dude, Will Reichert's married. They finally got to find a kicker, bro. Will Reichert's been there for like 10 years, been married for 7 of that. But the key thing for Alabama, and I said this on one of my TikTok videos, is 3 things. Can what Caleb DeBoer did at Washington, can it transfer to the SEC? Second thing is having Saban around close by, office still on site. Is he going to get the respect of the players? Are they always going to be looking over his shoulder to Saban's area? And the third thing is how does this whole schedule look when it comes down to preparation? Because there's a question later on that's going to talk really in depth about this. But Alabama, everybody's got a tough schedule, but Alabama, being Alabama with a new coach and this schedule, is very interesting for Alabama. But Bobby, I'll give you first stab. Alabama 5.
Probably not going to end at 5, just because I don't know that you're going to have 2 SEC teams in the top 5 with the playoffs. Like, that's what it's hard to distinguish, right? Like, if you're just ranking the best teams, right, maybe. I don't think you're going to see a massive fall off from Bama. The thing is that we have added Oklahoma and Texas, right? And it really depends what those guys come in and do as to what it shakes up on with Alabama. I think the ticket for Alabama is going to be the trenches, right? I mean, they've got the skilled players, right? They've got that. But I don't know how good they're going to be up front on either side of the football. And in the SEC, you better be.
That's where it's at.
Right.
If you're going to compete, you've got to be good up front, right? Georgia last year, not as much success as we usually see on that defensive line. And it was kind of the difference maker, probably, if you really break it down and evaluate it. But Alabama, lost Proctor, right? They lost Ferguson, the center who they all wanted to hang up by his toenails, right? Was still good, like at blocking and looking at the defense and giving the assignment to the lineman.
He can fix the snap issues.
Right. Yeah. So I just don't know, man. Like, I hate to say, I feel like I'm saying that on every one of them. I don't know.
Right.
I
That's
think
what's so much
this
fun
will all
about
take shape after spring, and we see who sticks around, because we're going to have more portal mess. But way too early. I could see them being 5. Like, if we're talking about 12 best teams, like, they're probably still around 5 or 6.
Well, now when we get into these 4, you might see why. Fish, what you got about Alabama right there? You got them at 5. You got them lower, higher.
I got them a lot lower, but I think they're the 4th or 5th best SEC team behind Georgia, Ole Miss, Texas, Mizzou, Bama, or 4 or 5 right there.
That's a good point.
So I think there's gonna be a few teams in front of them. I think they're still going to compete. They're still going to be Bama. They're still going to be good. Goatless, but still good.
Man, you would be somehow or another, the internet world would drop this whole podcast right now if Nick Saban was the coach and we said that. They would be like, "Coof!" Internet goes down.
Boom.
So
4.
let's talk about this
Go
real
ahead.
quick.
Yeah.
Real quick. So when we're looking at the playoff, right, you've got the 6 conference champions, highest rated conference champion, and then the rest will be at large, most likely based on their rankings, right? What's team? Like you could potentially, I don't think it's likely, but you could potentially, with as much talent that exists within top 10 teams in the SEC, you could potentially see over half of the teams be SEC teams.
Mm-hmm.
You could see, you're one conference champion, and then you've got 6 other spots.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you got let's say Georgia wins, right? Then you've got Texas, Ole Miss, Bama, Mizzou.
Ooh.
I mean, come on now. Can you tell me other teams off the top of your head that you think are going to be ranked high, or better football teams than those are?
Oregon, OSU, and then 5 Georgia, like 5 SEC teams.
Right.
So there's 7.
It could be. It's worth looking at. It's worth looking at. We're gonna do it. Let's fly through 4 through 1, and then we'll hit that because I want to see what you guys. I'll let you guys give your take on what playoff could look like, and we'll fly through that. But I got Oregon at 4. Fish, I'll let you stab at Oregon. I love the Dylan Gabriel pickup. I don't know if that leadership style of Bo Nix is gonna be lost a little bit, but Dylan Gabriel throws the ball. He threw the ball around the park for Oklahoma. He's going to do it at a better, in my opinion, with a better defense and a better. I like Brent Venables, but I like Dan Lanning as an overall coach.
Yeah, me too.
And then Kobe Savage is incredible on defense. They've added so much depth. Do they also, it was kind of in the distance right now, but they also got their quarterback of the future. They got Dante Moore that signed from UCLA too. So in time they were doing stuff for now and later. But Fish, you got Oregon here.
I like Oregon there.
Okay.
I like them up high. I like them. They're going to be good. Lanning's building something good out there, and that's Gabriel replacing Nix. I mean, that's what every Oregon fan. They couldn't ask for anything better than that.
Yeah.
I think that's good, and they're going to play solid defense because of Lanning and his influence. So yeah, that's a good pick. I like that.
Do you think Gabriel's legs are a little bit better than Bo Nix? I think he's got a little bit more in his leg. I think he does too. I think he's got a little bit more. Arms are kind of the same, but I think he's got a little bit more in the tank in his leg area. What do you think, Bobby? You like Oregon here?
Gabriel's good. Oregon, dude. I'm a big fan of Dan Lanning.
Yeah.
I mean, dude is intense. He is a hard worker. He's a blue collar guy, like eat off the floor guy. And I think you're gonna see Oregon do some really, really good stuff. I believe, like, if it weren't for Washington, right, this past year, I mean, they gave Oregon 2 of their losses, right? They played them twice. So I think without them, man, Oregon, they're tough. They're tough. I would have them, 4. Yeah.
Yeah, that was just a stump, man. It was more like a plague. They just couldn't beat Washington. But
they only seemed to beat them last year.
It's like Georgia against Alabama in an SEC championship game. It's just,
had every tool to beat them, just couldn't get it done.
Yeah. I agree.
That's a great analogy. Yes, you said about Georgia, Alabama. That's a great analogy about Georgia, Alabama. It's like Georgia had every tool, even this year, to beat them. It just didn't happen. And then Oregon got a chance at them twice. Believe me, a lot of that has to do with Penix. I mean, incredible talent there. Just a great year for Washington. We'll see if it transfers over to Alabama. 3, I got the Texas Longhorns. This was tough. Between 3 and 2, you'll hear, you probably know who I got at 2 now. Yes, but 3, I got Texas. I like Quinn Ewers, Isaiah Bond, got him a Lamborghini. That's great for him. He'll be a wideout over at Texas. Andrew Makuba from Clemson, really, really big defensive player from Clemson, transferring out of Dabo's place over there. Texas just reloading. I like Sarkisian. Texas is coming in. I did a little TikTok story on between Texas and Oklahoma. Like, who's for real coming into the SEC and who's pretending. And I think Oklahoma is coming in pretending, and I think SEC. I mean, I think Texas is coming in. They're for real as an SEC
They're going to come in
team.
hot.
Yeah, I agree. Bobby, what you got on Texas, man? What do you think about Texas?
Man, I mean, Texas, they beat Alabama, right, last year, and truth be told, the year before should have been a Texas victory too, right? Yep. There was the whole crappy call in the end zone where it should have been a safety and it wasn't called, and so yeah, in Texas, NIL is going to be very good to them. Deepest pocket you can imagine.
You know it.
Texas is legit. They're going to be around. Ewers is coming in. Then after that, you'll see. I'm looking forward to see what happens with Manning after spring. See what happens there. But Texas is legit.
Yeah. What do you think?
Did y'all see that picture of the media day before the playoff game where Quinn Ewers and Manning were out on the field at the same time, and like Ewers just sitting there by himself looking at all the reporters over there talking to Arch Manning?
I did not see that.
I mean, that's going to be – that's an unspoken about QB battle brewing right there.
Yeah, but if it's – I don't want to go too far with this, but if it's not Manning, is it a story? I mean, it wasn't with Malik Murphy, and he's going to be the starter at Duke next year.
Yeah,
there was no story with Malik Murphy.
It's the name. Great. It's the name.
Yeah. I mean, I'll be honest. Like, I watched some of his highlights, right, in high school, and it did not look like he was playing very good competition, and he looked slow out of the pocket.
It's like Justin Fields' high school tape. Did you see some of his games? Oh my God, he was playing like 5'8" white boy. And I'm sorry to say, but you know what I mean? Like,
but so
he was a giant out there.
If he doesn't have that Manning name, and he's not playing that level of competition, he could shock us. He could come out and be lights out and be like Peyton was at Tennessee, right?
He's definitely bulking up. Like he's doubled in size since he got.
Like he's gonna have to show me that it's just not his name, right?
Is he bulking? Is it like muscle, or is he just riding the pine?
It's muscle. It's muscle. He looks ripped, man. I've seen some pictures. ESPN has showed a couple of topless pictures of him in his other like the QB room in Texas, and they're all like,
yeah. That Nebraska outfit. Woo. My boy
there could have been a lot of airbrushing going on, but I'm just saying.
Yeah.
All right, so 2. I got the Ohio State Buckeyes at 2. Obviously, so much to talk about here. They got players coming in, man. They got Travion Henderson coming back. They got Quinshon Judkins, who I really like. I heard Quinshon Judkins is a little bit of a locker room fiasco. That's why he wasn't really high on Ole Miss's keep list as far as portal money. Will Howard, it's big time competition at Ohio State, so it's curious to see with nobody pushing him. Kansas State, he was the guy. Nobody pushing him, and he'll have people pushing him. Julian saying, he didn't up and leave Alabama after signing as the questionably the number 1 quarterback recruit coming out. But he obviously signed for some money.
He's also got a better shot to play up there, I think.
Yeah, well, then you got Aaron Nolan. So I don't know. Is there a quarterback battle brewing in Ohio State? I mean, honestly, whoever can hand the ball off to one of these 2 guys will be okay. And then obviously we talked a lot about Caleb Downs. They add that to a really good nucleus on defense coming back. I think Ohio State is great here. Do you guys got this pretty much at 2? Do you think they're the second best team in the country? Yeah.
Definitely. But they're already good defense. Just got back. Sorry, go ahead.
I was just saying their defense, like what you're saying, Fish, right? Like that's been the question for Ohio State for several years. It got a little bit better last year, and they had some really good pieces this year, so it's going to be even better. Quarterback, I don't think Will Howard's the guy. He was the 7th ranked quarterback in the state of Pennsylvania.
Yeah.
Pennsylvania. I mean, they're not pumping out like
5 stars, not 5-star quarterbacks anymore.
Right. And so you've got him in a room with Aaron Nolan, right, and Julian Sayin. Like, to me, that job is one of those two guys. Like, I mean, I could be wrong,
Yeah.
But
what you got to think is when you come into this conference now this year, this conference is loaded. It's like the SEC. These two conferences are clearly the best two conferences.
Yep.
So when you look at this, though, you got to look and you got to go. I might not want, I might like what I see out of Aaron Nolan as far as like hype, as far as like that, those ESPN type replays. And then you got your Julian Sand, who's kind of that is one of those finesse type cornerbacks that you don't see from year to year. You hear a lot about great arms, you hear a lot about great legs. You don't hear a lot about just that. I don't know, that good pocket passer touch. Yeah, good word for it. Touch style quarterback. So you definitely got something brewing. I definitely agree with you, but I'm wondering if they're going to lean on Howard at first because it's like, well, we all know Ryan Day plays it safe. But I think, Bobby, what you're saying is could possibly be the reason why Ryan Day shoots himself in the foot, because does he play it safe and go, I want a manager in a Howard, because he could manage this freaking $20 million team, or do you want to roll the dice and see if you can get some excitement with a Julian Sayin or an Aaron Nolan and make this team? I don't
think he can afford to play it safe.
I don't think he can either. And plus, you got to remember, I think you will see some teams take a lot more chances at the beginning of the year, because now one loss, you're not done in the playoffs. So I think it could be interesting. And obviously, number one, I got Georgia at number one. I don't know anybody that's going to report at the beginning of the year that's not going to have Georgia at number one. That's not because this is a Georgia podcast. That's not because I'm biased. If I had these teams lined up, Georgia would be my number one. Carson Beck returning, Trevor Etienne, Malachi Starks holding the defense down, CJ Allen, you're adding KJ Bolden. I did a TikTok video the other day about Ellis Robson was upgraded to the not only number one cornerback, but the number one player coming out of high school this year. So Ellis Robinson, DeMello Jones was upgraded from 4 to 5 star. That's huge. Andre Evans upgraded to the 9th best cornerback coming out. So we have out of the top 10 cornerbacks coming out of high school this year, we have 1, 7, and 9. It's incredible. And Bolden's not even in that. They actually have DeMello Jones ahead of Bolden a little bit. Not cornerback. I mean, just in defense, as far as ranking on defense, which, that can be depending on what you're seeing in the eye test. Sometimes you might can, but I think what you see with DeMello and what I've heard from him is he is lights out. His speed is lights out. So you can see DeMello doing a lot more than just covering. He could be. There's a lot of guys in that defense secondary that you go, are you going to see them return punts? Are you going to see
if he can catch? If he can catch, let him. If he's that fast, just throw the ball up deep. Beck's got the arm too, man. Just throw it. Just throw it. Let him run and go get it.
Where was he from again? Is it
Swainsboro?
Swainsboro? Yeah. Swainsboro. I watched him in the playoffs, like in the state championship game, and like, dude was heads and shoulders above everybody else on that field. He is an athlete, son. Like, I would not be disappointed at all to see him be used on offense if he's not starting on defense. He's fast. But I think with Georgia, man, like I would have him at number one too, just because really they lost Brock Bowers, but you got Delp, you got Sperlin, you got Lucky, right? Like you that room is stacked. Running back room is stacked. You add ETN, right? So if Robinson's healthy, right, you got a guy who will run over you, and then you got ETN who is going to hit the
run around you
on, right? Receivers, right? You bring in the dude from Vanderbilt who's a good receiver. You don't lose a whole lot out there. You lost, Rosemary Jack Saint, right? But you still got
Dylan Bell, baby.
Thomas.
Dylan.
If Arian Smith can catch the ball, you've got a really good deep threat, right?
Stick him on his hand.
You've got guys that have been waiting their turns. Evans, who was phenomenal. So man, like the biggest pieces to me that Georgia was kind of lacking was the corner play, because you had Dylan Everett, right? Like he was almost a liability, right? If there was a weak spot, he was on our defense. That was it, right? So now with Humphreys, Everett could be better, but you're bringing in Robinson, and then Mello's in there too, right? Like he might not see the field if he don't get better.
I agree.
So you're going to fix that, and then up front on the defensive line, some of those other guys, the Halls and those guys, man, like have a year. They've gotten stronger and bigger. They got some playing time this past years, so like they're up to the speed now, and it's going to be really exciting. I think you're going to have 2 or 3 studs on that defensive line. Offensive line is solid. They're going to give Carson Beck all day to throw the ball. Yeah, it's just that offense is probably going to be the best offense that Georgia has had ever, I would say.
Yeah. Fish, trick question. You got Georgia at 1?
Number 3, baby. Number 3.
Yeah, Georgia at 3. Hey, man, you'll finally agree with some of these abusive TikTok fans that I have. Georgia at 1. So let's look at this. Let's look at this real quick. So we're not going to spend too much time because I want to answer a few questions. We're going to try to keep it at a power hour tonight. Let's just say, so this is what we're looking at. Top 12, right? So it's the top 4 of the power conferences: Big 12, SEC, ACC, Big 10. Those are in for winning the conference. They are a top 4 seed, and they get a bye. Now, the next 2 that get in out of any conference has to be ranked. It's the highest ranked. Okay, so that means
not conference champion, just ranked.
Correct. So they can win their conference, but they have to. So it's the next highest. So you could see 4, and you could see 8 at larges, or you could see 4 and 7, but you cannot see anything. There is definitely 6 at large bids out there, because you could see 2 conference champions ranked that could be in there. Now, to clear everything up before we really dive into this, and I'll let you guys have your take, because you heard my top 12 and you get to comment on it. But I don't see anybody. I mean, you can help me with this. I don't see anybody coming out of Conference USA winning their conference and ranked out of FIU, Louisiana Tech, Middle Tennessee State, UTEP, Western Kentucky, Kennesaw State, who's new to Conference USA, Jack State new, Liberty, maybe Liberty, but New Mexico State, Sam Houston. Do you first? I'll give you Bobby. Do you see anybody coming out of Conference USA ranked winning their conference?
Liberty's probably the only one that could potentially, but I don't know what they're going to be this year, right? I don't know how much they lost their quarterback game back, so so they could be ranked.
Chadwell stayed, right? So he'll be there year 2. So that's huge. What do you think, Fish? Do you think Liberty comes out of Conference USA?
It's the only shot they have.
You got to remember this now.
You're getting a team in.
Yeah, I agree. So let's keep Liberty there for a second. Sun Belt. App State, Arkansas State, Coastal Carolina, Georgia Southern, Georgia State, James Madison. That's an interesting one. They tried to get him in last year. Louisiana, Marshall, Old Dominion, South Alabama, Southern Miss, Texas State, Troy, ULM. I don't see anybody coming out of there.
How awesome would it be if Georgia Southern and Georgia ended up playing each other in a playoff game one year eventually?
That'd be crazy, dude.
That would be awesome.
Absolutely crazy. How awesome is it Georgia Southern's going to the Sun Belt Conference? That's wild.
I like that.
Yeah, I don't know, man. Like,
that's good for them.
Who is it? Helton that's down there? Is he still down there?
Yeah.
I don't see anybody coming out of the Sun Belt.
The only team I see would potentially be James Madison. I mean, they're usually pretty good.
I agree.
But
they also don't
right?
Play that. They don't get to play that pancake schedule that they had last year in D2 either. So, but let's keep them there. We'll keep them there. Who knows? American Athletic Conference: Eastern Carolina, Memphis, South Florida, SMU, Temple, Tulane, Tulsa, Charlotte, FAU, North Texas, Rice, UAB, UTSA.
Tulane, maybe.
Tulane. Yeah, I was about to say the same thing, Bobby. Yeah.
Tulane. Okay. Will they be ranked? Who knows? Here's the conference I think nobody's coming out of. Hawaii, Wyoming, Utah State, UNLV, San Jose State, San Diego State, New Mexico, Nevada, Fresno, Colorado State, Boise, Air Force, Mountain West.
Boise's fallen off. I don't like if anybody. I would have probably picked maybe Boise State, but I still don't think any of that is get in.
No,
Right.
they're not the same Boise State from back in the early 2000s anymore.
I agree. We don't know what the Pac-12 is going to do with this Oregon State, Washington State hanging around stuff. We'll know more later on that. But for
whoever
now,
wins that game is finishes the season undefeated in conference play, right? Like,
bro, there's as much information.
They're 1-0, baby.
Yeah,
there's as much information on that online right now as there is what we're talking about. We might have the hottest take on what the 12-team playoff could look like last year, because I don't even think commentators right now know what to talk about. They don't even know who to place in what conference right now. Nope. So are we? So do you guys want to pull two teams from there just for sake of pulling them? I mean, do you honestly think? I think it's one. I think one team out of all there that we can really solidify and say. I think we can say. I think Liberty, with the last year, with everything they did last year, maybe Tulane. Let's give it to one of those. Who would you take if it's who's going to be ranked higher, Tulane or Liberty? You pick it. We'll put them in.
Liberty. I'd go Liberty because their quarterback's coming back.
Quarterback's returning, second year.
Salter, he's decent.
Yeah.
Fish.
That sounds good.
All right, Liberty.
No, you're fine. That sounds good. Yeah.
So that means Liberty. All right, so now let's pick it. So let's go Big 12 first. Let's see if we can agree on this, and then we can get our 12-team playoff. So Big 12. Who wins the Big 12? Baylor, Iowa State, Kansas State, Oklahoma State, TCU, Texas Tech, West Virginia, BYU, Cincinnati, Houston, UCF, Arizona State, Colorado, Utah. Notice I have three teams in my top 12 in the Big 12. Crazy. Who you got, Fish?
I got Arizona winning it.
I got Arizona coming from the Big 12.
UCF is a sleeper in that conference to win it, I think. Colorado maybe on a far outside chance. Just depends how motivated, how they look, what they play like, what they can do in the portal the next go round.
They're not. They're gonna.
I like Deion, bro, but I'm not a believer this year.
I'm just wishful thinking. I'd like to see him have a little success in there.
Oh, I like it, right? But I think that the hype train this year is about all it was.
Like, that's definitely more of a fan
I thought they would
guess than an analytic guess, you know.
So who you got, Bobby?
I'm torn between Arizona and Oklahoma State. Only thing we go back to thinking, as we were talking earlier, was Oklahoma State, what they do at the end of the season. So I'd have to go at Arizona.
All right. So Arizona. So we agree with it. We agree on that, but there is an open out there. So omitting Notre Dame, because we don't know, right? ACC, Boston College, Clemson, Duke, Florida State, Georgia Tech, Louisville, Miami, North Carolina, NC State, Pittsburgh, Syracuse, Virginia Tech, Wake Forest, Stanford, Cal, SMU. Dear Lord, this poor ACC conference. Like, what? I'll be honest with you. The team I have coming out of there, if they played in there, was Notre Dame. Obviously, I think Notre Dame will possibly be an at-large, maybe. I don't know. But out of this, I mean, Florida State.
I think Clemson rebounds from the massive beatdown at the beginning of the year by Georgia.
Yeah,
finishes strong.
Man, Clemson quarterback is shaky, bro. Like that dude's. I don't know. Unless they get somebody else in there, it's gonna. I would say it's gonna be between Florida State and Clemson. I'm gonna say this though, right? As much as I don't like them, what Brent Key is doing at Georgia Tech, right? They're competing in probably a couple more years in the ACC. I think that they will have the ability to go in there and upset a Florida State or a Clemson.
They gave us all we wanted last year.
Yeah, yeah. So they're a much improved program, man. Brent Key is a solid coach, and he's doing a great job. But I'm going to say just because of what Florida State has brought in NIL transfer portal is one of the same to me, really. You buy them out of there, but I'm gonna go Florida State over Clemson.
I got Florida State. I think Fish, you got toss up, but you think Clemson?
I got Clemson, yeah.
All right, 2-1 Florida State.
There you go. Y'all win.
SEC. I think we should talk about who's playing for the SEC championship.
Georgia Ole Miss.
I think Georgia Ole Miss. Who you got, Bobby?
Yes, sir.
Georgia Texas.
Georgia, Texas. That's who I have.
Yeah.
Georgia, Texas. I think that Ole Miss. I agree, Adam. Ole Miss is my third best SEC team, right above Missouri.
Gotcha.
Even though my top 12 has Alabama at 5th, it's now we're talking about the body of work and how this finishes out. Because I think now you talk about who's able to get through this SEC schedule. So that pushes us back to so we think 12 plays 1. So we think a Liberty, right? A Liberty is going to play a 5, which is I have 5 as Alabama. We're just throwing this together as I have the top 12. Okay.
Just some
so
SEC team. Just some SEC team.
Yeah. Let's say Alabama. Let's run it off of who we have in the top 12.
That's cool.
So Alabama, Liberty, right? So
yep.
11 and 6, we now have at-larges, right? So here's my thing. Florida State won the ACC. Who's your next at-large? I had Notre Dame at 11. You guys like Notre Dame in there at 11?
They'll be one of the top 2 or 3 at-larges, definitely.
Yeah, they probably end up there.
So you got Notre Dame playing a 6, which probably gives them to Michigan. I don't know. I got them at
Michigan, Ole Miss, Oregon.
Okay. Oh, we didn't do that, guys. We didn't do that. We didn't do the Big Ten. Who do you got? I think it's going to come down to what? Oregon, Ohio State.
Yes,
Michigan?
Sir.
Oregon, Ohio State. Who wins the Big Ten? Oregon, Ohio State. Who you got?
Ohio State.
Ohio State. Yeah.
Okay. So I think that changes everything. I think Oregon then is at 5. So I think Oregon is your top seed out playing Liberty. I think that puts your Alabama playing your Notre Dame, and then you got 10. I think that's where you're going to see who did I have at 10?
Utah.
Let's just say it's Utah. So you get Utah in there. Utah plays a 7 seed, which is an Ole Miss.
There you go.
Right. So then 8 and 9 are looking to be Missouri.
Oregon?
Nope. Oregon was 5. You're looking to see Missouri, maybe Michigan. Missouri, Michigan type thing, which would be cool. That'd be a crazy.
I'd watch that game.
If they land in there. And then you have this. Then you have your 4 sitting on the outside, right? You have your Florida State sitting on the outside, your Georgia, your Arizona, and your Ohio State.
Ohio State.
So we don't have to go too farther than that, but that's kind of what 12 would look like, which would be crazy because you would have games like Missouri, Michigan. You would have games like Oregon, Notre Dame. That's wild, man. But what I find really hard to believe is like an Arizona, which I'm high on Arizona, but Arizona gets a bye, man, while Oregon gets to go play on the road. Well, they get to play in a bowl, obviously.
Got to win your conference.
So that's wild. The 12-team playoff is going to be wild, man. I think just piecing it together for 5 minutes was already we get to see a little bit of what the committee deals with. Before we close out tonight, let's field 3 questions real quick. These are what I call my mailbag TikTok questions. They're questions that I've received throughout the last 2 weeks in reference to stories I've posted. One of them is from a guy named Game Over. His comment was about the situation going on at Tennessee with Nico Iamaleava.
Yeah, Amaliva.
Amaliva.
It was like Amaliva.
I'm gonna leave it alone. So obviously, if our listeners don't know, Tennessee right now is in a little bit of a debacle with NIL. So Jaden Rashada from Florida and Nico, these 2 guys both were signed at the same time. Rashada was a weird story going into Florida. It's $13 million NIL deal something fell through. He doesn't sign with Florida. So Florida kind of dodges a bullet, maybe. Well, Nico signs. The thing that there's coming to the table now is they gave him that money. He received that money before he graduated high school. And so they are still benefiting from Nico. Obviously, he's looking to be the starter for Tennessee this year. And I think the NCAA is looking to place Tennessee very highly up there to show people what might could happen with NIL mishandling, especially after the Jeremy Pruitt, McDonald's breakfast bag handing my money over. So, anyways, to answer this question, Game Over says Tennessee's going to actually turn around and sue the NCAA. They don't have anything there. If you guys are, what's that?
Them and Virginia are filing lawsuits against the NCAA.
Wow, what's Virginia's? Curiosity.
That's more of the same.
More of the same. Mm-hmm. So it's NIL. They're saying so. NIL is trying to, or
the
NCAA
state of Virginia, not the college. The state of Virginia and the state of Tennessee, are filing lawsuits.
I guess the question is: do you think, from what you know of this, do you think that this is something Tennessee needs to be worried about, Bobby?
No. What I've read is that it was a collective that had absolutely nothing to do with Tennessee. That he signed, that this group was going to pay him no matter where he went to school. But I read that on Post, right? So it's not gospel.
Right.
I don't know, man. I really feel like if the NCAA does, this could be the catalyst for big schools bailing on the NCAA because they don't need them, right? They don't need them.
Man.
And they've been so inconsistent with who they choose to punish and who they don't, right? Like, there's no consistency there. I don't think anything comes of it. I mean, nothing came of the Michigan thing. Stein's still thing. They won the national. Let them go play in the national championship. Like,
you go cheating. That's all right. 3 games. Go win the Natty.
Right. I think it's just a media talking point, man. It's nothing more than I don't think you're going to see anything come out of it.
Not this year. It's going to be something that gets drawn out and litigated, and just it's going to be a while. It's going to be a minute. There's no quick turnaround. There's no nothing as far as the NCAA goes. They move at a snail's pace.
Yeah.
Last question of the night. Crap talking. This guy's name is Crap Talking Dog Fan. Says Bama is a 3 or 4 loss team next year, and I actually was like, okay, this is definitely just some crap talking. But then I pulled Alabama's schedule.
Yeah, that's what I'm about to do.
Okay, they got to go to Wisconsin. I'm not saying it's the Wisconsin of old, but I am saying Cole gets another year, right? They got Georgia at home. That's their first SEC game of the Kalen DeBoer era. Yep. South Carolina on the road. Get the Sandpipers on the road. Tennessee in Knoxville. Missouri at home. LSU in Death Valley. Oklahoma at Oklahoma. Auburn at home. That's 8 games that I'm just like, he might be right, man. So do you see, the question to it is, do you see 3 or 4 losses in there, Fish?
At least 3. Maybe just 3, but 3.
Who do you think they are? So I got Wisconsin, I got Georgia, I got Tennessee, I got Missouri, I got LSU, I got Oklahoma, Auburn. Who do you think this
Georgia? Georgia for sure. Georgia for sure. Auburn could be sneaky. Auburn could be sneaky depending on how they're going to look this year. I think they're going to look all right. Outside of that, I'm not sure.
Bobby?
I wrote down 4 that could potentially be losses, and maybe a 5th. UGA.
Mm-hmm.
I think Tennessee could sneak in there. I think Mizzou could sneak in there. I think LSU is going to depend on quarterback play, right?
And their defense, what are they going to look like this year?
The guy that was back behind Daniels, what was his name?
Nussmeier, I think.
Yeah, Nussmeier, right? I think
that's cannon, it. Bro.
Nussmeier, dude can sling it. And they're always going to have good receivers, right? They're kind of like Ohio State. But so LSU potentially, that's 4. And man, Auburn. Like that's always I don't think they lose all of those.
Is the Iron Bowl in Tuscaloosa this year?
It is in Tuscaloosa. Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't.
Bama's going to Death Valley.
Losing 3 or
Death Valley.
4 is not out of the question.
I read this comment and I'm like, this guy's. I mean, no offense, he might be out of his mind. And then I go pull the schedule. I'm like, well, he might be onto something here.
And they're not gonna just walk through Oklahoma either, because that's a road game.
And good thing they don't have Ole Miss, right?
Man,
yeah. Bro,
that's who I was thinking about. That's why my brain farted right there when I was talking about that. I just I forgot. Like I had them beating, and then I was like, oh, that's right, they're not playing each other this year. And so then I just kind of got lost.
Yeah,
I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt and say there's 2 in there for me. I think that Georgia, and I think that I'm calling Missouri, man. I like Missouri.
I got Mizzou beat.
Luther Burden and Cook
sure.
are going to give them fits, man, and that defense is going to give them fits.
Yeah, that defense is gonna be. I mean, those guys up front, man, they do so much like movement on that line and scheming, and man, those guys they're quick to get in the backfield, right?
It's definitely a well-coached football team.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
for sure.
Well, guys, it has been a blast as always.
As always,
I got some final thoughts. I'm going to give you guys a little shot. Fish, any final thoughts or random things you want to throw out there that we're missing tonight? Go ahead.
Not really. We pretty much hit it all. I think it's going to be exciting. I just think things are changing right before our eyes. Football is looking less and less like it used to every day, every week. So just we need to enjoy it while it lasts.
Yeah.
I'm not saying the sport as a whole is going away. I'm just saying like what we're used to. We're all in our 40s. We're what we used to watch when we were kids, what we loved about the game is changing.
Yeah.
And I don't say it's for the bad. I don't say it's for the better. I just say it's changing. And you can either keep up, you can like it, or you can sit at home and you can type on your phone and you can complain about it all you want until your heart's content. But either way, I'm here for it. I love it. That's football. Exactly. It's still football.
Yeah. What you got, Bobby? Final thoughts tonight, man?
Oh, man. Final thoughts. I'm going to just go ahead and put it out there. We're doing way too early picks. I'm going to do this one, but I'm going to be locked in on this probably up until kickoff. And then we'll see what happens afterwards. But I've got Georgia having a Heisman winner this year, man. Carson Beck.
Mr. Beck.
Ooh, Mr. Beck.
First
man. I like it. Final thoughts here. I got 2 final thoughts for you tonight, man. I am so excited to see Ladd McConkey showing out.
Did you see that route?
Man.
That route was wicked.
That dude looked confused and just slow.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Ladd McConkey looks first round material, my friend.
Why?
I mean, he got me. He confused me because I thought when he shook that guy and he made that first step, he was going a seam right up the middle, right? But
that man
he
had a leg transplant
and hit the sideline. I was like, okay, bro, I see you.
That dude, he borrowed somebody's legs on that one. That dude just, and he was gone.
Dude,
I don't remember him being that fast and quick at Georgia. I mean, I know he was good and everything, but Lord,
I just hope, ugly. I think he checks off the character box. I love that. I love that kid's character. I think he checks off. He's going to be a slot receiver that a lot of people are going to talk about for a long time. If he can just stay healthy, Lord, just keep his back healed, and he's going to do great things in the NFL. And then my second thing is obviously, this gets overlooked a lot, but signing day is actually around the corner, February. I think it's the 7th. This is where we get all there's a couple of more picks out there that everybody gets out of high school. These are most of the kids that are going to enroll and be a long ways behind, but they're going to add some crazy depth. One of the big names is the wide receiver that's expected to sign with Alabama, the Williams kid. So he still looks like a lock, but he also looks like the type that can throw a curveball. So we'll see. But guys, it is always really exciting, really cool to hang out, talk Georgia football.
Love doing it.
A month ago, we were dreading because it just felt like it was so far away. It's closer. It gets closer. Next thing we'll be talking about is, we've already done some preview of spring depth, but I think we're going to start really keying in on what everything's looking like, how things are progressing throughout weight training, and maybe seeing how some of these kids looked at bowl practice and how they look now. under Georgia's weight training program. So super excited about that. Thank you everybody for joining. As usual, we are Dogs Down South Facebook. Go like it on YouTube. Now on TikTok. Go like it on TikTok. And also, if you didn't get a chance to hit this live, make sure that you go on Apple Podcasts and catch it late. Bobby, Fish, always a pleasure, man. You guys have a great night.
You know it. You too, buddy.
Go Dogs.
Go Dogs.
Mm-hmm.